Chapter 5, the second chapter to Unit 3A. At the culmination of Chapter 5, we will conclude Try 1 with a Unit 3A test. Chapter 5 is Cultural Patterns, language specifically. Your content objectives for all 4 key issues this chapter. Content objective, explain the distribution of languages worldwide. Your ICANN statements. Define language, literary traditions, language families, branches, groups, languages, vigorous languages, institutional languages, and developing languages. 2. Name the 2 largest language families. 3. Identify the names and distribution of the 2 largest language families. And 4. Identify the names and distribution of the largest language families in addition to the Indo-European and Sino-Tibetan language families. Look over these questions real quick because as you've learned in this class, everything is scaffolded, meaning you take knowledge from your previous units and builds on in this current unit. And this is how you're going to best be prepared for the AP exam, because you're going to have to be able to work interdisciplinary between the units or in between each of the units, because many of the questions comprise multiple units, whether it's on the multiple choice test or the free response question, the written prompts. A language is a speech or oral communication in a collection of sounds. Literary traditions, it is written communication. An official language is used for public office, such as road signs or money. It is estimated that there are 6,900 languages. 11 of these languages, including English, only 11 of these languages, including English, are spoken by at least 100 million people. So it shows us with this statistics that languages are dying. Other key terms. Institutional language is used in the workplace, education, mass media, or government. Developing language. It's used by people of all ages. A vigorous language. It's used daily, but it lacks a written tradition. A threatened language is used face-to-face, but is not recorded or does not have literary traditions. A dying language is used by older people, but not being transmitted by the youth. When we look at literary traditions, writing languages, we can see that the largest writing system in the world today is Latin. And then we see Cyrillic, found in Eurasia, encompassing Eastern Europe and Russia. We can see Arabic in North Africa, in Southwest Asia, and parts of Central Asia. And we can also see Chinese, which is the writing system for the most widely spoken language of Mandarin. Language families, they're a collection of common ancestral languages. They can predate recorded history, and they evolve into language branches. Branches have common ancestral language and evolve into individual languages. So notice, branches now have individual languages. Branches evolve into language groups. They have common origin, they have similar grammar and vocabulary. A language family, common ancestral language, existed before recorded history. We can see that the largest in the world is Indo-European language family, followed by the Sino-Tibetan language family. And then the 2 second largest, the Niger-Congo, found in sub-Saharan Africa, and the Afroasiatic, found within North Africa and Southwest Asia. Two-thirds of the world's population speak either languages from the Indo-European family or the Sino-Tibetan language family. 2 to 6% of the world's population speak from one of 7 other language families. When we look at this tree, it is a representation of the evolution of languages. We look below the surface here, and those are called superfamilies. You won't need to know that for the test. But above the ground, we see, in this case, Sino-Tibetan, which is the second largest language family in the world. By the illustration, it indicates over 1 billion, 1.2 billion people come from the Sino-Tibetan language family. The language families do evolve to the language branches, which we can see right here, the Tai-Kadai language branch, the Sinitic language branch, and the Tibetan-Burman language branch. So off of the Sino-Tibetan language family, you have 3 branches. And remember what differentiates a branch from a language family. A branch comes thousands of years later, and it also has evidence of individual languages. And then as they continue to evolve, we'll see a collection of leaves, and those will form language families. So the Tai-Kadai language family, with the 2 largest languages being Tai and Zhang. The language families, remember, they have common grammar and common vocabulary. The individual languages will be different based on, they'll be different in that they'll have different dialects, and they'll also possibly have different spelling. When we follow the Sino-Tibetan up to the Sinitic language family, we see several languages a part of that, the largest being Mandarin, which is the most widely spoken language in China today. And then we can see the second largest being Wu. And then in the south, there's commonly the language of the Cantonese in China. All right, we can look at Niger, Congo, and that also shows us this is the largest language family in sub-Saharan Africa, and it branches out into 5 branches. And at the end of the branches, the collections of leaves form language groups, and then every individual leaf is an individual language. Here we look at Indo-European. We can see individual languages that have more than 5 million speakers are shown in the leaves. Below the ground, as I already mentioned, is superfamilies, but don't worry about that. You don't need to know that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Indo-European, which is the largest language in the world. More speakers are related to the Indo-European language family than any other language. As it evolves, we'll just follow it up to the West Germanic branch, and then you can see it branches off to the North Germanic branch that encompasses the language family, North Germanic languages with Danish, Norwegian, Swedish, and just those. And then the West Germanic branch, at the end of it, forms West Germanic language groups, which encompasses the largest, English, and the second, German, Dutch, and then Afrikaner. And we can also take a look at, if we go into the Romance branch, the collection of Romance language group is, the collection of languages that make up the language group of Romance is going to be Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, the largest 4, with Romanian. All right, and then we can also see the Indo-Iranian that stretches all the way to South Asia, and the Balto-Slavic that stretches into Eastern Europe and parts of Eurasia. Quick review. All right, let's continue. The 2 largest language families, Indo-European and Sino-Tibetan. Indo-European it's known as a proto-language. The predominant languages are found in Europe, South Asia, North America, and Latin America. It is the most widely distributed language family, so it has the largest distribution and it has the largest concentration. The second largest, being Sino-Tibetan, is more clustered and concentrated in Southeast Asia and China. There is no single Chinese language. However, Mandarin is the most widely used language in the world. It has the most speakers of any language in the world, and it is the official language of both China and Taiwan. Here we see distribution of other languages. As already mentioned in the notes, the Niger-Congo down here, And then we have the, Arabic is a part of the Afro-Asiatic language family. And then we can see the global distribution of English, and it has the largest concentration of any language in the world. And English comes from Indo-European language family. Other Asian language families are listed as below. Languages can become isolated, and when they become isolated, they can turn into other languages. So over a long period of time, isolation can form new languages, as we see with some of the archipelagos in Southeast Asia. The Austronesian languages, they're found in areas of Oceania, within the Pacific Ocean, the Micronesian islands, as well as New Zealand. We see as isolated groups and the forming of individual languages. Let's go to Southwest Asia and North Africa, as we saw in the choropleth map in the previous slides. Go ahead and rewind if you need to look at that map, but we see Afro-Asiatic, which is found in North Africa and Southwest Asia. It is Arabic, or Arabic is the largest language in the Afro-Asiatic language family. It is one of the 6 official languages of the United Nations. Altaic is a language family that has Turkish as being the most speakers. Turkish is found in areas of the former Soviet Union, areas of Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan, what is Central Asia. When looking at the language families of both the Sino-Tibetan, the Turkic, and the Dravidian, we can see the Dravidian is found in southern and southeastern India. However, India as a country has the most spoken languages, most diversity of spoken languages in a country. African languages, there are still many isolated tribes that have folk languages. So those tribes are folk languages that are passed down through oral traditions. They don't have a literary tradition. And they're slowly dying out and being replaced by what is known as a lingua franca in sub-Saharan Africa. Swahili, we'll talk about lingua francas later. Swahili is the official language of Tanzania. Swahili is the largest language in the Niger-Congo family. It's spoken by nearly 30 million Africans in sub-Saharan Africa. The 3 major language families are Afro-Asiatic in the north, in the Horn of Africa, Somalia, in Ethiopia with the Amharic, and Niger-Congo is found in sub-Saharan Africa, with the largest being Swahili, and the other 2 languages, Igbo and Yoruba, will be found in the most populated country in sub-Saharan Africa, that being Nigeria. And the Nilo-Saharan is another language found in sub-Saharan Africa, but it's concentrated in the central part, and within this language family, there's a large number of speakers. Africa displays the greatest diversity of languages as a continent, but not as a country, remember, as a continent. This map displays language families and subdivides them into language groups and languages. Here we have the distribution of the Semitic. Semitic is a branch. So notice that the Semitic branch has both Hebrew and Arabic, which brings about an interesting historical relation, being that both those languages have historical ties through the evolution of language families and branches, but now they're at ethnic and political conflict with one another. Here's a look at other language families. As you can see, the Niger-Congo, as well as the Afro-Asiatic and Arabic, and the here's the Nilo-Saharan. And again, it has 2 major concentrations in central northern Africa. Take time and reflect on what you've learned. And this will take us to the end of notes.